Hi everybody, this is Callie and welcome back to another video of me probably crying on the internet about my OCD. Maybe not, we'll see, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. So in my part of the world right now, we're just about right on the edge of summer. Summer's right around the corner. And something that I've noticed is true for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, is that unfortunately, OCD does not take a vacation when you do. So that being said, I am no stranger to OCD acting up when I am on vacation or when I'm traveling. Exhibit A. So for context, a few years ago, my boyfriend and I were in Las Vegas. We were there for a true crime convention, which, by the way, is like a whole exposure in and of itself for someone like me who suffers from harm OCD. True crime is something I was always interested in, and I decided to just, take the leap and go anyway, even though I knew that there were going to be a lot of triggers and things that could be upsetting, in addition to just the, whole upset of my routine that happens when I'm traveling. So it was a couple days in, and I could, over those days, feel my anxiety kind of building. And then one night it came to a head, and yeah, let's see what happens. Guys, I'm trying to be really quiet because Mike's sleeping. I was laying down for maybe half an hour or so. I started having a panic attack. I'm kind of coming down from it now, I think. But it came in 2 waves. I just thought it wasn't gonna be an accurate representation. Here come the cheers. What this is like if I didn't film it. Because this hasn't happened in a while. This is the reality of living with anxiety. For a minute there though, I was really scared. I was like, afraid I was going crazy. I was like, I'm a 5-hour flight from home. And I'm not leaving for several days. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. I'm gonna have to, no matter what, sit through a flight home. See a little bit through it. Whereas a couple minutes ago, I was really freaking out. It feels like logically, I know I'm gonna be fine. I know I'm gonna get through it because I always have. But for a couple minutes, it really just feels like it's gonna be like that forever. 2 full days of, constant triggers, the stress and the time change, and the stress of travel and being in close quarters with somebody. There are some specific triggers that I'm not gonna talk about it right now. I'm not gonna focus on it. But because of, Mike being here too, I'm worried about another person. So that's part of why if I'm traveling, I prefer to do it. Either I like to have my own room or a place that I can lock myself away, or where that person is locked away because then they're safe in my mind. Me talking about locking the door and having someone be safe is OCD talking, because I'm talking about having them be safe from me, basically. Harm OCD is really my main problem, always has been, and I've worked on it, gotten a lot better, but I find that when I'm in like really stressful situations, and traveling is one of those things for me, I think it's easy to backslide a little bit. It's only making things stronger, making my intrusive thoughts and fears stronger, ultimately, because I never face it. I never face it with another person there. I never face that fear of like, there's literally another person right next to me within, arm's length. Very self-aware, I gotta say. Even like I know what I'm, afraid of is irrational or whatever, but I'm also aware that I'm making it worse for myself by not addressing the situation. Yeah. So like I said, travel or being on vacation, something that's supposed to be really relaxing, can actually surround you with a lot of triggers that might set your OCD off, because there's so many things happening. Your routine is upset, you're doing things you don't normally do, you're in a new place, maybe you have a time difference, you have all this stuff happening that's kind of out of the norm for you. So even if you're in a good place with your OCD, it's kind of something that's worth considering. It's worth maybe revisiting some of your tools that you have already set up to help you with OCD, because I know, like I said, for me personally, it usually becomes some kind of an issue. So with those tools in mind, my advice for going on vacation while you have OCD is as follows. So my number one thing, I think, is just to be realistic in your expectations. You should expect that you're going to have a change in your routine, whether it's a time difference, whether it's food related. Even if you're staying somewhere close to where you live normally, you might be doing different things during the day. You might be spending more time with people that you don't usually spend 24 hours a day with. You might run into triggers that have never really been an issue before, but suddenly on vacation, your OCD is saying, wait, but this thing, do we have to worry about this? Wait, is this a new theme I'm feeling? Like, you know, you have to expect that these things might happen. And that's normal. It's just something that is part of the game, unfortunately. But with that, that brings me to my next thing, is make sure that you're at least taking care of the bare essentials. Make sure that you're sleeping, that you're eating, that you're, if you need that alone time, that you're scheduling that downtime for yourself. Make sure if you're on medication that you bring enough for the whole time that you're on the trip. Those kinds of things. So planning ahead to make sure that your bare essentials are being met will help. I know a lot of people who have any kind of mental health struggle will scoff when people say, oh, well, you just, you know, you need to eat better, you need to exercise, you need to sleep better. And I totally agree that it's so much more complicated than that. But I personally believe that if your bare minimum is not being met, if you are not drinking enough water, if you are not getting food that is actually good for you and, you know, good for your mind, good for your body, all that stuff, if you're not getting enough exercise, if you're not filling out the bare minimum to just be like a living being existing in some kind of healthy state, you're only doing yourself a disservice. So you have to at least start from, okay, I'm taking care of myself, making sure my needs are met, making sure that I just have my best fighting chance to get through all this stuff. And then the next thing I want to say is make sure that you have some kind of help or support on standby. So this can be anything from letting your therapist know that you're traveling and saying, hey, like, you know, is there anything special I should be preparing for? Or if you have a friend, especially somebody who might be on the trip with you, or someone that you can talk to, someone that you have confided about your OCD or whatever the issue that you're dealing with is, it really helps to know that you're never alone. And that's always the case anyway. You are never alone. There are always people that can help you. There are always things that you can do to help yourself. But I know, especially when I'm in the worst of the anxiety, panic, or anything that's going on, if I'm so overwhelmed and overstimulated, it feels like there's nobody in the world that can help me, that I'm stuck like this forever. There's no help and it's going to be like this forever. But that's not true. And you know, I think a lot of us that go through that have that experience where we're like, oh my God, this is going to be this is my future. This is it forever. I'm trapped. And that's really obviously not the case. So we have to remind ourselves that we do have those kind of support systems in place for when things get kind of tough. My next tip, which seems so simple, I think, is to go on the trip. So don't miss an opportunity to go somewhere because your OCD bullied you into not going. Don't miss an opportunity to see a new place or meet new people if that's what you want to do, or just to go and experience new things because you're afraid of something that might happen along the way. There are so many places that I've been that I almost didn't go, or things I almost didn't experience because I was like, but what if I panic, or what if I have an OCD flare-up, or whatever. what if? I mean, you know, it's what's the difference whether I have it home or whether I have it out? I mean, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. But I put a lot of work into having that toolbox at my disposal to make sure that I have everything that I need to know that I can get through it, even though it seems like it's the scariest thing in the world and it feels like you're never gonna get through it. We know that that's not true. So my last thing, I think, is to just do exposures for your OCD. And I don't necessarily mean starting anything when you're on your trip. I mean planning ahead. So as you're looking at this vacation or this trip coming up and saying, you know what, I want to be able to deal with my OCD. I want to be able to feel the best I can. I want to be the most prepared for a trigger or a new thing that comes up or whatever situation I find myself in. That's something you plan ahead for. So that's something that you can start building that toolbox and doing those exposures beforehand so that you're not throwing yourself in completely, you know, head first into 10-foot deep water. So if that toolbox is something that you're interested in building, you can start doing that today by going to NOCD.com or treatmyocd.com, and they will set you up with a certified therapist that knows what they're talking about when it comes to OCD. Trust me, any intrusive thought, anything that is worrying you, they have heard it all. You cannot shock them. And there's no time better than the present than to start working on that so that you can enjoy your trip, experience new things, make new memories, and just live the life that you want to live. So on that note, I'm gonna get going and I will see you guys next time. Bye.